2024 was an amazing year for horror films, and there was a lot of films that I really enjoyed. So in anticipation of my top 10 films of 2024, here are their top 5 horror films of 2024. These top 5 lists help me build anticipation for my top 10 films and talk about more movies that I might not talk about in my top 10 films. I've already done 3 other lists like this, so check those out. So I'm going to preface this list by saying I'm not always the biggest fan of horror films, but this year had some truly exceptional movies that I really enjoyed. I wish I could have included more on a top 5 list, but unfortunately we're only limited by 5 films. So coming in at number 5, we're going to go with Nosferatu. I think this movie is exceptionally well directed. I do love the atmosphere that it creates. It's very dark, it's grim, it feels eerie. The production values are top notch. The makeup, the costumes are all executed really well, and it is a movie that is made very well. I like the performances. Not a big fan of what Lily Rose Depp did, but other than that, the rest of the cast is really good. The movie did leave me wanting a little bit more in terms of narrative storytelling, but other than that, it is a very good atmospheric experience. Number 4, I don't know if I quite qualify this as a horror movie, but it does have some dark themes. It has some spooky moments sprinkled throughout, but it's a movie about identity and being true to yourself, and then the trans experience. And it's just done in a very sweet, subtle, very explorative way. It subverts expectations. The performances are really understated and executed really well. It's a movie that you could dissect on repeat viewings and discover more about the characters and the interpretation of the story. And you can tell that this is a very personal and intimate story. Number 3, and to just turn people on their heads, I really liked Abigail. I thought this movie was exceptional. It's not like the most flashy or fancy or well-written movie, but it is a lot of fun, and it has some really great character moments, and it's hilarious. There's a lot of good mixture of horror elements and comedic moments. It's just so creepy seeing this little girl take out these grown men and women, and it's done so well. It is a movie that is short on its runtime, but in its execution, it's just a lot of fun. And again, it's just a lot of fun and it's entertaining, and that's what you want from a movie. And this one, I always go back to and think about because of how I had really no expectation, and it's a movie that I keep wanting to watch again. I was extremely late to the Smile bandwagon, but this series of film is really good. The first one is a decent exploration into the world, but Smile 2 ups the ante, ups the stakes. It's a bigger movie with better productions, better costumes, more locations, and it's just a stellar feat of direction. It's eerie, it's creepy, it plays with your perspective, reality in such a way that's very unique. And at the very last act of this film, I was in awe of what was going on, and I was in disbelief of what was real and what wasn't, and it really made you feel like you were inside the characters. Naomi Scott was a superstar in this movie. I've always liked her acting, but here you really get to see her range, her descent into madness. It's just so well done, and it's a movie that I'm thinking about constantly. I only watched it a couple days ago, and I'm still thinking about it, and I really enjoyed it. Number 1, no surprise, the best horror film of the year is The Substance. This movie defied all expectations. I had really no idea what I was walking into, and I was blown away by the concept, the writing, the performances, the editing. I do think it does go on a little too long, and there was a perfect point in the film where it could have ended, and I think it would have been a masterpiece in filmmaking. But it does go a bit further, and I do think the payoff is worth it. I do love that final shot, but I think that whole sort of ending part was a little bit too much, and not in the sense of that was too much to watch or endure. It just went on for too long, and I feel like the movie had a perfect spot where it could have concluded before that. But Demi Moore is great in this film. She gives a career best performance. Margaret Qualley is a superstar, and even Dennis Quaid is awesome to watch, even though he's so disgusting in this movie. The importance of balance. I love the emphasis on your mortality, your youth, and what we do to retain it, and how the media is always wanting us to be younger and thinner and more beautiful. And to these absurd standards, and it just tackles all those themes in just such a clever and unique and unreal way.